morning, students. My name is Dr. B. Suresh Babu, Professor in Mechanical Engineering Department, MBR College of Engineering and Technology, Paritala. As a part of online courses, we are discussing and learning about dynamometers. This subject is for third year first sem mechanical engineering students. If you observe the second unit consists of friction, clutches, brakes and dynamometers. So we are going to learn dynamometers concept. Absorption type of dynamometers I have explained. Now I am going to teach you transmission types of dynamometers. In these transmission types of dynamometers, if you observe, we have to learn about general description and methods of operation. That means how it is constructed and how it is operated. First of all, what is the purpose of dynamometer? So dynamometer is a device to measure the power of the engine. So the power of the engine calculated by the device known as a dynamometers. There are different methods are there to calculate the power. Out of that one is called absorption dynamometer. In that one, power is absorbed and we are going to find that one. In that one, we have discussed about Prony brake dynamometer, rope brake dynamometer and hydraulic dynamometer. So in this class, we are going to learn about transmission dynamometer. In that also, we have three categories are there: belt transmission dynamometer, epicyclic dynamometer, and torsion dynamometer. So we have to discuss how these are constructed and how these are going to be measure the power of engine, prime mover or a motor. So power has to be measured. What the aim of this one? Aim of this class is what is the method of construction of this transmission dynamometer and how to measure the power of the given prime mover. So let us go for the discussion. I think everyone remember what is the dynamometer. This is the definition. Dynamometer is a device which is used to measure the frictional resistance. By knowing frictional resistance, we can determine the torque transmitted and hence the power of engine. I repeat once again, it is a device used to measure the frictional resistance. By knowing the frictional resistance, we can determine the torque transmitted and hence power of the engine. How? Power of the engine is equal to torque into angular speed. This is the formula already we know. So by using this relation, power of the engine can be calculated and frictional resistance is equal to the torque, and we can know the RPM of the machine, that is it may be engine, maybe prime mover or a motor. So dynamometer can be used either to measure force, torque or power. So dynamometer is used to measure the force, torque or power. These three we are going to measure it. Next, if you observe this one, transmission dynamometer. So transmission dynamometer, in these dynamometers, the energy used for doing work, the power developed by the prime mover is transmitted through the dynamometers to some other machine where the power is suitably measured. Try to observe in transmission dynamometers what we are doing. The power developed by the prime mover is transmitted through the dynamometers to some other machine where power is measured. So by transferring the power for one part to another part or from one component to other component, we are going to measure that power. For measuring that power, we are going to use dynamometer. As a transmission takes place from one point to another point, for that purpose, we are going to have a three types of. One is going to be called as a belt transmission dynamometer, epicyclic train dynamometer, and third one is a torsion dynamometer. I repeat, the type of dynamometer is a belt transmission dynamometer, epicyclic train dynamometer, and torsion dynamometer. So transmission dynamometers. If you observe, power measuring dynamometers may be transmission dynamometers or absorption dynamometers. Already I told there is a classification. So based upon the classification, one is the transmission dynamometers, another one is absorption dynamometers. The former, that means the transmission dynamometer, utilizes devices that measure torque in terms of the elastic twist of the shaft or of a special torque meter inserted between the sections of shaft. The torque is produced by the useful load that the prime mover motor or machine is carrying. That means here if you observe, this is one set, another set, another set. In between two, we are going to place our torque meter. This torque meter is going to measure the torque, and if RPM is known, torque into angular velocity, we can able to find the power of the engine. As power of the engine rotates the shaft, that means transmission dynamometer utilizes devices that measure torque in terms of the elastic twist of the shaft or of a special torque meter inserted between the sections of the shaft. The torque is produced by the useful load that the prime mover, motor or machine is carrying. So in between this two shafts, we are going to keep our torque meter and torque can be known. So how we can keep this torque meter? Torque meter can be placed between two shafts by many ways. Those we are going to discuss in this class. As the torque produced by the useful load that the prime mover, motor or machining. That means the torque is produced by a machine or a prime mover or maybe any useful load, and that is used to transfer the power from one point to another point. In between this, we are going to place our dynamometer. So we are going to discuss how we are going to place and how it is going to measure the power of the prime mover. First one is a belt transmission dynamometer. In belt transmission dynamometer, we are discussing about the construction first. What are the components? It consists of endless or continuous belt run over the driving pulley. A driving pulley is there, a belt is there, continuous belt run over the driving pulley. The driving pulley is rigidly fixed to the shaft of an engine whose power is to be transmitted. The driving pulley is rigidly fixed to the shaft of an engine whose power is to be transmitted. The intermittent pulleys rotate on a pin fixed to a lever having a fulcrum at the midpoint of the two pulley centers. That means intermediate pulleys rotate on a pin fixed to a lever having a fulcrum at the midpoint of the two pulley centers. A balancing weight is provided in the lever to initially keep it in equilibrium. A balancing weight is provided in the lever to initially keep it in equilibrium. The weight of a suspended mass at one end of the lever balances the differences in tension of tight and slack sides of the belt. The weight of suspended mass at one end of the lever balances the difference in tensions of tight and slack sides of the belt. If you observe this one, it contains belt will be there, a fulcrum will be there, another two pulleys are there, and a lever is there, and a supporting blocks are there to balance the lever. So these are the total 6 components we are going to keep. How we are going to assemble? If you observe this diagram, we can easily understand. See, this is going to be called as a driven pulley. This is called driving pulley. These two are going to be the intermediate pulleys, and this is the balancing weight. This is the fulcrum and our lever, This is the going to be the lever, this is the fulcrum, and these two are going to be balanced with the help of the supporters or stoppers. That is S1, S2 are the stoppers, and this is the dead weight that is acting on this lever. So what is the working is, when driving pulley is rotated with the help of a prime mover, this prime mover is connected to the intermediate pulleys and to the driving pulley with the help of a belt. As it starts rotating, this belt tries to rotate the driving pulley also. So this is going to be rotated. This is driven. This is driving. This means this is the, we are going to measure this one, power of this one. So what happens here? When it is going to rotate, it is going to be also make number of oscillations. Here the, if you observe how it is rotating in clockwise direction. Driving pulley is rotating in anti-clockwise direction. So all these driving and driven pulleys are connected by a belt. So on the left side we have a T2, on the right side we have T1. That means one is a tight side, one is going to be the slack side. So T1 is going to be called as a tight side and T2 is going to be called a slack side. If the rotation is opposite, T1 and T2 are going to be differ, exactly opposite. Here, if you observe tension T2, T2, here also tension T2 is there. So sum of these two is 2T2. Here T1, T1. Sum of the two is T1, T1. A drive is there, B is the driven, driving is A. So we are going to measure the power of this driving pulley. Driving pulley is rotated by a prime mover or a machine. How to calculate that one? We are going to learn in this class. Okay, if you observe, the weight of suspended mass at one end of the lever balances the differences in tensions of tight and slack sides of the belt. So the weight of suspended mass at one end of the lever balances the differences in tensions of tight and slack sides of the belt. Therefore, when the lever is in horizontal position, the total movement of all the forces about the fulcrum O should be 0. That means if you take the moments about O equal to 0, then what happens? See, this is the O is 0. Then T2 distance to this fulcrum is A. T1 distance to the fulcrum is A. Mass is acting downwards and distance between the mass to the fulcrum center point is length L. Here totally three forces are there. Weight acting downwards, T2, T1 are acting upwards. Then taking moments about what, 2T1 into A minus 2T2 minus A is equal to W into L, where W is the weight acting, L is the length between the balance and to the center. Then 2T1 into A is equal to W into L plus 2 into T2 into A. 2A is equal to T1 minus T2, that is equal to W into L. So tight side minus slack side is equal to W into L by 2A. So power of the engine, power is equal to torque into angular velocity. T1 minus T2 into V. V is equal to pi d n by 60. V is equal to belt speed. So pi d n by 60, that is meters per second. So P is equal to T1 minus T2 into pi d n by 60. What is T1 minus T2? T1 minus T2 is equal to W into L by 2A. W is the weight acting, length is the, L is the length of the distance from the weight to the fulcrum center point. A is the distance between the tensions to the center of the fulcrum. So all these are known means we can measure the power of the engine. So this is how a belt transmission dynamometer works. Next, we will go for the epicyclic train dynamometer. In epicyclic train dynamometer, which measures power while it is being transmitted from driving to the driven shaft. That means epicyclic train dynamometer, which measures power while it is transmitted from driving to the driven shaft. It consists of a simple epicyclic gate train. The pinion is free to rotate on a pin fixed to the lever. The lever is pivoted about a common axis of the driving and driven shaft. When the dynamometer is in operation, two tangential forces act at the end of the pinion. If you observe this epicyclic gateron, these are the features of the epicyclic gateron. It contains a pin, it contains a lever arm, it is going to rotate two tangential forces, and here we are going to use gate trains for transmission of the power. So by all this one, how we can construct epicyclic gate train? If you observe this diagram, we can have the relation between all these components. So one is going to be called as a gear, and we have a pinion or intermediate gear is there. This is going to be the spur gear. One is the driving gear, one is driven gear. In between these two, we have intermediate gear. This is going to be the lever arm, and here a balancing weight is there. Two supporters or stops are there to balance this one. Here also we have a weight hanging on the lever as happened in the belt transmission dynamometer. So if you observe the construction, this is the shaft, and shaft is going to transmit the power with the help of a prime mover, motor or a machine, and thereby with the help of intermediate gears, this gear is going to be rotated with the help of a this intermediate gear. This is going to be the lever arm. These are the stops. This is the weight acting downwards. Now taking the moments about E. If E is considered, 2F is acting perpendicular to this one at a distance of this one. That what is the distance? The distance is going to be A. From E to the balancing weight, it is length is L. Always L acts downwards. So taking moments about A, what happened? 2FA into A is equal to WL, where R is the pitch circle radius of the spur gear in meters, N is the speed of the engine shaft in RPM. If you observe, since these efforts acts in upward direction, therefore total upward force on the lever acting through the axis of pinions is 2F. This force tends to rotate the lever about its fulcrum, and it is balanced by a dead weight W at the end of the lever. The stops S1 and S2 are provided to control the movement of lever. So as happened in the belt transmission system, the stops are going to present to control the movement of the lever. As two forces are acting, the summation is equal to be 2F. So from equilibrium of the lever, taking movement about the fulcrum E, 2F into A is equal to W into L. Let R is equal to pitch circle radius of the spur gear in meters. N is the speed of the engine shaft in RPM. So torque transmitted by engine, T is equal to F into R. What is the F? F is equal to W into L by 2A. So substitute F value by W into L by 2A. What is our pitch circle radius of the spur gear? In meter, the pitch circle radius, if you have, this is the spur gear. We can have this pitch circle radius of the spur gear. So if that is been known, we can able to represent R value, or we can able to calculate R value. So power transmitted by the engine is equal to P is equal to torque into W. So T is equal to Ft F star R. That is W into L by 2A into R by 2 pi n by 60. So by calculating the speed n, that is speed of the shaft in RPM, and R, that is we know the pitch gear, spur gear pitch circle, and A is the horizontal distance and L is the lever arm length. Thereby we can able to calculate the power transmitted by the engine. So P is equal to T omega. So in this way, so you have learned construction and working of that one. And then this is the relation how to calculate the power transmitted by the prime mover. It may be motor or it may be engine. Next we'll go for the third one. That is torsion dynamometer. When the power is transmitted along a shaft, the driving end twists through a small angle relative to its driven end. Torque transmitted is directly proportional to the angle of twist. Therefore, a torsion dynamometer works on the principle of angle of twist. Torsion dynamometers can measure large powers, as in case of power transmitted along the angle of twist in radians is given by. That means power, if there is a large amount of power transmissions, then we are going to use torsion dynamometers. Here, to measure the torsion dynamometer, we are going to use angle of twist in radians. That means by using the angle of twist concept, we are going to measure the power transmitted. Here, torque transmitted is directly proportional to the angle of twist. This is the principle we are going to use it here. Let us go for this one, how the relation will be there. See, by torsion equation, T by J is equal to C into theta by L. Theta is angular twist in radians. J is polar moment of inertia of the shaft. For a solid shaft of diameter d, the polar moment of inertia is equal to J is equal to pi by 32 into d to the power of 4. For a hollow shaft of external diameter d and internal diameter d, the polar moment of inertia is equal to J is equal to pi by 32 into d to the power of capital D to the power of 4 minus small d to the power of 4. From the above equation, T is equal to C theta by J by I, that is equal to K theta, where K is equal to C into J by I is a constant for a particular shaft. Thus, torque acting on the shaft is proportional to the angle of twist. So torque is directly proportional to the angle of twist because J, C, J, I are going to be the constants. This means that if the angle of twist is measured by some means, then the torque and hence the power transmitted can be measured. So what is the task here? Now to measure the angle of twist. How many methods are there to measure the angle of twist? We will discuss in this class only. So it is fine that we have to measure the angle of twist. How to measure that angle of twist? Angle of twist is measured means torque can be known because remaining all factors are constant. It depends upon the shaft we have. How it will measure? We will see this one. This is the simple construction of a system to measure the angle of twist. Here, it consists of two discs A and B fixed on a shaft at a convenient distance. A shaft is taken, one disc A is at one end and disc B is at other end. A radial narrow slit is made in each of the two discs. That means a small hole is drilled on the two shafts. Behind the disc a powerful electric lamp is fixed on the bearing of the shaft. That means behind the a lamp is there. To that lamp, light passes through the slit and touches the B disc. To the right of the disc B, an eyepiece is fitted on the shaft bearing. That means behind the B also an eyepiece. That means we are going to observe. That means a screen is going to present. When torque or power is transmitted through the shaft, it twists so that disc B lags behind the disc A. When torque of power is transmitted to the shaft, it twists so that disc B lags behind the disc A. That means when A is rotated, B is not rotating at the same speed. Definitely there is going to be a difference. The difference is can be measured by using this light rays, that is angle can be measured. How that? This is the construction of the Bevis Gibson flashlight torsion dynamometer. In torsion dynamometer, Bevis Gibson is the one of the method to measure the angle of twist. So if you observe Bevis Gibson flashlight torsion dynamometer, the construction is like this. It depends upon the fact that the light travels in a straight line through air of uniform density and the velocity of light is infinite. So it depends upon the fact that the light travels in a straight line through air of uniform density and the velocity of light is infinite. It consists of two discs, A and B, fixed on a shaft at a convenient distance apart. Each disc has a small radial slot, and these two slots are in the same line when no power is transmitted and there is no torque on the shaft. That means here, when there is no motion between the two shafts, these are on the same line. A bioelectric lamp L behind the disc A is fixed on the bearing of the shaft. Here we are going to keep the lamp here. At every revolution of the shaft, a flash of light is projected through the slot in the disc A. An eyepiece is affected behind the disc B on the shaft bearing and are capable of slight circumferential adjustment. So here A is straight away passing through B. When it is changed its position, the E position is changed. This is going to be our eyepiece or a screen. So E is going to be the eyepiece and B is another one disc, A is another disc. These are the two types of slots. In the beginning, both are at rest condition. When it is start rotating, these two has to rotate in the same direction at the same speed. But if it is any deviation, the deviation can be easily noted by the observing this eyepiece, because eyepiece is behind the A. Behind the A, we are going to have a lamp. Lamp always reflects. At every point, the slot reaches here. Through that slot, a light is going to pass through this one and is catched here. So the deviation in A and B position, we are going to measure. Thereby, angle can be measured here. So for a better understanding, I have kept these two slides side by side. For T by J is equal to C theta by L. Theta is angle of twist in radians and J is polar moment of inertia of shaft. The shaft diameter D, the polar moment of inertia is equal to J is equal to pi by 32 to the power of 4. For a hollow shaft of external diameter D and internal diameter D, the polar moment of inertia J is equal to pi by 32 capital to the power of 4 minus small to the power of 4. From the above torsion equation, T is equal to Cj by L into theta. Cjl is equal to constant, that is a k theta. C is equal to Cj by L is a constant for a particular shaft. Thus, the torque acting on the shaft is proportional to the angle of twist. This means that angle of twist is measured by some means. Then torque, hence the power transmitted may be determined. So we know that power transmitted is equal to P is equal to T by 2 pi n by 60. So how to measure the twist? How to measure the angle? See, here the angle of twist is 0. If the same rate comes to downwards, the angle of twist is going to be 180 degrees. If it is come to here, the angle of twist is going to be, it may be 90 or in between 90 to 180. So like this, as the disc contains 360 degrees, This is also 360 degrees. This position and this position. Comparing these two, we can able to measure the angle of twist. So torque is directly proportional to the angle of twist. So by keeping the value theta here, we can able to measure the angle of twist. So like this, we can able to measure the power of the prime mover that is rotating with A to B. Here we are going to keep a prime mover, and prime mover is going to be start rotating. So that's the power can be calculated with help of this technique. Okay, by this I have completed this transmission type of dynamometers. If you observe, I have given first of all summary of the class is classification of dynamometers, absorption type as well as transmission type. In absorption, three is there. Uh, Three we have discussed. In transmission type, we have discussed here. One is about belt transmission system. Second one is about epicyclic transmission system. Third one is about torsion dynamometer. In these three, we have discussed about first one construction, working, and the relation to calculate the power. In second case, for epicyclic also, we have gone for construction, working, and formula to calculate relation with for power. Power that is torque into omega. Torque is calculated with the help of momentum. In third case, torsion dynamometer, we have used Gibson Davis Gibson flashlight experiment to measure the angle of twist. As angle of twist is directly proportional to the torque, we have measured the angle of twist. Thereby, we can able to calculate the torque because torque is proportional to the angle of twist. With the help of diagrams I have explained students, you have a complete notes on this concept. You can refer my Google Classroom code. It is 4FW5XEK. For clarifications and text messages, if any doubts, you can mail to me chwer5 at the rate of rediffmail.com. So thank you students. We will discuss few problems in the coming class. All of you take care. See you all students. Bye.